from where you sit. Thanks for joining us for another thrilling episode of The Trading Bell. This week on the program, we speak to one of the SMEs that has been enlisted to join the Ibuka program that seeks to see companies get to be exposed on what it takes to list at the Securities Exchange. And we are hosting the CEO of APT Commodities, one of the largest tea exporters in the country. But really, who is Peter Gitata, the CEO of APT Commodities? Let's have a quick look. Peter Gitata Macharia is the CEO of APT Commodities Limited, a fully owned Kenyan tea company. Peter is also a tea trader and taster with over 20 years experience in the tea industry, having worked in various departments within Gokal Beverages EPZ Limited and Gokal Trading Kenya Limited and Union Tea Brokers Limited. He has also visited markets worldwide to study tea drinking trends and preferences, including Pakistan, Egypt, Italy, Ukraine, Hong Kong, China, UAE, Sudan, Malaysia, and all tea-producing countries in Africa. He is a former chairman of Tea Exporters Buyers Association and board member East Africa Tea Trade Association. Currently, he is the chairman of the Mombasa Tea SME Association, formed to pursue assistance in capacity building, the common user facility building with tea storage and packing machines, international and local market support intelligence and negotiations with financial firms for easy and affordable finances. Peter is also a philanthropist who has helped many youth in his village by promoting sports and education while encouraging the youth to drink jumbo chai and avoid illicit brew. Thank you so much, Peter, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Agina.
I know you are usually based in Mombasa,
Yes.
a lot of trading at the port there. Of course, most of the products coming through the country come through the port, and of course, those that are leaving also live through the port. But really, talk to us about your update in terms of joining the SME Ibuka program.
Actually, this has been one of the most exciting. I would say it's a ceiling for us. We have broken the ceiling because when we started this SME, we never thought a day like this will come, where we'll be knocking doors to the Nairobi Securities Exchange and becoming one of the big boys of tomorrow.
All right.
Yes.
Speaking about the big boys and dressed in that sharp suit, some would say it's a young company that is trying to get into the big league. Tell us about your journey.
Well, my journey in tea started in 1996 when I joined Union Tea Brokers as an IT expert. And when I joined, I realized that being with computers or even training other computer or doing programming and all that is not the core business of the company. The core business of the company is the tea part of it. So I decided to make it my passion to learn what is this that they are doing. All right. Yes.
Interesting. From being an IT guru to now being a guru in the tea sector, quite a journey. So talk to us about this Ibuka program and what does it mean for you as a company in terms of learning the ropes before you can be listed on the most dynamic exchange in East Africa?
Actually, one of the things that I'm sure without no doubt is the Nairobi Securities Exchange is a force to reckon with. And APT being there, we are going to get the exposure, not just in Kenya, but in Africa, because what we are looking at, not just Africa, we are looking at the worldwide, where we are going to get exposed, and maybe in a couple of years or with a short time, we'll be able even to list with other security exchange out there.
All right. And what are your expectations other than being linked to other companies out there?
The primary goal or the primary expectation actually is to raise capital under the NSE. But more to that, there is other advantages of being under this program. One of it is the exposure, because to get this kind of exposure, I would not have gotten even out there. So being here now, I'm able to be actually even talking to you, to be also on KTN, and there it goes.
All
Goes
right.
global.
All right, it's
Yes.
all systems go. And Peter, are you ready for this project?
I'm more than ready.
Because I'm asking this, it will take a lot, especially when it comes to reorganizing your business. The way many SMEs in Kenya are designed, people do not like to cede control. And one of the key fundamentals of being listed, there's an element of losing control of the company. And many people still want to cling because you started the company from scratch. Now you're being told you have to hire more directors, you have to reorganize your business in a bid to you to be listed eventually.
I believe as a person, I have the value that we will, even the investors which are going to come on board, will see that they cannot be able to just buy me out or buy the shares and buy me out. Because the value that I will drive along with the team that I have at APT is going to even outlive their expectation of the finance part of it. And that is why we are saying we are not just looking at the finance part of it, we are looking at a force behind APT.
All right.
Yes.
Speaking about APT, how much is APT's net worth currently?
Well, annually we do a turnover about $3 million. That is what we are doing. And as a tea company doing $3 million in a year, you're a very small company.
Okay.
Yes.
I've asked this because I'd like to understand what other products do you deal in the bigger markets?
For tea, we only have, for APT, we only have tea. We have called, the company is APT Commodities Limited, yes, but we are only trading with tea. And we want to ensure that besides the tea, the way it's taken, the way you know it, a cup, maybe with milk or without milk.
Yes.
We want to see what else can be added to the tea itself, so that we give more value to the consumer. So for now, we are not dealing with any other. What we are going to do is we are going to increase the brands rather than the products.
All right.
Yes.
And how many countries are you currently servicing?
We export heavily in Hong Kong. We export to Macau, Malaysia. As we speak, we have a shipment going to New Zealand. We export to Pakistan. We export to Sudan. We export to UAE. We export to Iran. Even with this harsh environment, though they have quite affected us, especially at the end of year 2018, because of the money part of it, the flow of money, because of the tightening of the what you call the sanctions. We also now have just ventured into a new market, which is the USA, where we are going to be exporting tea seed oil.
Okay.
Which no other company in Kenya, I can tell you, is doing that.
How big of a business will this be?
It will be the biggest of, because you can imagine all the tea farmers, if they can be able to give us the seed part of it, we will be able to squeeze it, because we are going to invest in a capacity where we will be able to have machinery to squeeze all those seeds, get the oil, then it can be used by companies which are looking for that kind of oil out there.
All right.
Yes.
And of course, for you to do this, you'll need a substantial capital base.
And that is why we had knocked the doors to the Nairobi Securities Exchange, so that we can have more capital.
And Peter, give or take, if all goes well and you get to be listed, I'm sure you, at the back of your mind, you have a certain figure you're looking forward to raising from the exchange. How much would that be?
For now, we don't want to over. We have a plan of how we are going to schedule this, and I don't want to
let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah, exactly. But one thing I know, by the end of this year, we'll be doing more than 3 times what we have done over the year. So we are talking about $9 million. Yes.
$9 million is not
in turnover.
A small amount.
It's very small when it comes to the tea industry.
Okay.
Yes.
And looking at this Ibuka program, when it comes to the program being implemented, eventually you going through the entire process, is there a cost to it if you're to educate our viewers?
You see, cost, it's something which is, there is a two way of looking at a cost. I do not see the cost which is there, it's negligible, because it cannot even take me back to Mombasa by air.
Okay.
You understand? So it's I cannot talk about the cost because it's a program which is tailored to help people like SMEs like us, you know, be able to thrive and be out there. That is why they have been able to bring it to a minimum.
All right.
Yes.
With the size of your company, and I was having a chat with the NSE CEO, Geoffrey Odundo, and he was quite excited that they are having about 30 other companies that are keen on this Ibuka program. How does this make you feel as being one of the top companies to actually be part of this program?
Actually, we were excited to be told that we were the first one to be selected out of all the companies that had knocked the doors.
Yes.
Because when they came to Mombasa to visit, and we gave all our books, and we gave all our history and all that. I think the story was easier for them to understand, and because it was like a capsule. You just swallow and you get healed.
All right.
Yes.
Speaking about you being the first companies, I'm sure the reason why you were picked is that perhaps your business model was appealing, or it also depends with the portfolio and of course your turnover. But from your experience in the industry, what are some of the challenges that keep rocking SMEs in the tea industry, and what are some of the solutions to this?
One of the biggest challenge of an SME out there is affordable financing. Because you find that most of the SMEs is a family business, where it's you and your wife, and or you and your family, and you start up a business.
Yeah.
And you start business with the little money that you have. So if you knock the door of the bank, the first thing the bank will ask you is a collateral. So if you have to be given money by the bank to be able to trade in large volumes, then you really need a big collateral so that you can get a very big bank line.
So how did you guys do it?
Well, what I did is initially I got people who I brought people on board, and we gave some collateral, which was what we used initially. Yes.
All right. And as we come to the tail end of the interview, I'm keen to know, what is your view of the company now that you have embarked on this very important journey? How will it impact on your books at the end of the day?
I am 100% sure it is going to impact positively, because first of all, it's going to add the bottom line.
Yeah.
And anything to do with business is about the bottom line. And also it's going to make the team, especially my employees, my team, enjoy the journey that we have walked with them together. We have burnt the midnight oil, and they can see now what I told them, that we are going to Canaan. Actually, we are in Canaan.
All right.
Yes.
And if you're to contrast with other countries, I'm sure in the industry you are in, there are other SMEs that started small like you, and they are now in the big league. Are there some countries you benchmark with, or some companies you benchmark with, that are in East or even Southern Africa?
I would actually go to Sri Lanka, because Sri Lanka is also one of the tea exporting. They grow tea, they export a lot of tea.
Yes.
And the beauty of Sri Lanka is they export almost half to half, 50-50 of bulk tea and value-added tea. And the top 15 exporters in Sri Lanka are companies that are owned by Sri Lankan. They are not multinationals. The multinationals lag, at the bottom there. When you come to Kenya, the top 15 companies, which are the top 15 big companies, which are doing more than 75% of the export, are multinationals. So you can see there is no balance.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And what would be your message to the aspiring companies that are hoping to one day be part of the Ibuka program, and they're still shy? They're saying, will I fit into this thing? Some believe that there are so many audits that are done, KRA will be on your case. What is your message to them?
Well, it depends on your focus and what you want what you want in 5 years, what you want in 10 years, what legacy do you want to leave for yourself? And partially for me, I have a family, so I would not want to have a one-man show where if I'm not there, then there's no APT. I would like want to have continuity, because one of the things that is affecting this country actually, the way I've been looking, is continuity. I would also want my employees to be tomorrow leaders in their own way, and to able to scale it up, because they have seen it can be done.
It can be done.
It can be done.
I like that. Yes. Legacy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter Gitata.
Thank you.
I don't know what Gitata means in your home language.
Gitata is just a drop.
A drop.
So you can see a drop in NSE, and it's going to flood
the market.
The markets.
We'll be keeping an eye and just to see how the company performs.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you very much.
Well, we've been speaking there to Peter Gitata, who is the Chief Executive Officer of APT Commodities. And he's very optimistic about them joining the Ibuka program, which ordinarily has been an entry point that the NSE has created so that they can give platforms to SMEs that have an interest or a desire to list at the Securities Exchange. And of course, this will be a big milestone for their organization. Well, let's take a quick look at how the markets have been performing in the markets analysis this week.
Awesome. Capital expenditure is actually very positive for our economy, and if the Treasury is opting to cut capital expenditure, that might have a negative impact on its contribution to GDP growth.
Time for the market analysis for this week, and we're joined by Harry Gitao, who is a senior analyst at Apex Africa. Many thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, the NSE 20 share index has performed pretty well for the last few weeks.
Yeah.
It's now at about 3,070 points. And when we started off the year, it was still tilting around 2,900.
Yeah.
What's the explanation behind this?
I think we opened the year at a very low base, and investors were actually looking to tap into the very attractive valuation metrics. We've seen foreigners sort of ease off on the selling pressure, and we've seen our local institutional clients sort of come back into the market, and that has had an impact on the actual NSE 20 position.
Okay. So are we likely to see it crossing the 4,000 psychological mark?
I think that will be a bit too optimistic, given we are still not yet completely out of the woods, but things are looking good. All right.
Yeah. So this week I'm seeing it closed off at about 3,043 points. Sorry, 3,058 points.
Yeah.
Meaning it went up by just 0.5%.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a quick look at the top gainers, Harrison.
Okay.
And I'm seeing some interesting movements, especially in the tobacco space.
Yeah.
British American Tobacco Company,
Yeah.
BAT, just released its results recently, and some good numbers, 4.1 billion net profits.
Yeah. BAT was coming from a very low point last week. We see this as mainly a price correction. The actual price appreciation happened before today's numbers were released, but today's numbers were actually a good testament of the quality and the brand that is BAT. They managed to marginally improve their top line, and also the company also managed to control their costs, which had a very good impact on the bottom line, which grew and translated to even higher dividends paid to shareholders.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking about dividends, I saw the stock valuation is about 640 shillings per share.
Yeah.
What an amount.
It's huge, and it speaks to the value that's underlying in BAT, and the fact that it's very highly priced on an absolute level means that it's not susceptible to a lot of market volatility.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's go to the top losers this week. I'm seeing BOC Kenya, the stock is down by 9.4%. Uchumi Supermarkets also not doing so well. The stock is down by 9.88%. And Uchumi has been a stock that has continued not to really perform well.
Yeah.
Of course, the organization is still sagging under a burden of debt, as well as issues around corporate governance.
Yeah.
Will Uchumi bounce back really?
For Uchumi, the key thing to note is that once it went below the 1 shilling price per share, any minute price movement goes up by 10 cents, goes down by 10 cents, it immediately becomes the top gainer and the top loser. So other than that, other than just market volatility for Uchumi, it's really dependent on capital injection that needs to come from a strategic investor and also from the government, which is the second largest shareholder in Uchumi.
All right.
Yeah.
And finally, CIC Insurance also among the top losers, but the insurance industry seems to be having some good vibe. Well, from the number of people I've talked to, there's some positive sentiment around uptake this year, and of course, deeper penetration.
I think CIC is also as a result of price correction during the week, but the market is actually inferring to Britam's profit warning. So if Britam has a profit warning, what does that speak for the entire insurance industry as a whole?
Sure.
So last year was quite challenging on its own, and sort of the market sort of inferring that the numbers are not going to be as good for the insurance sector, but this year looks quite optimistic on all fronts. So in as much as the price will come down as a result of the numbers that are going to be released soon, it may present itself an exciting entry point for value investors.
All right.
Yeah.
And of course, the talk of one of the stocks I'm about to bring up is Safaricom. The stock moved 12 million shares on the exchange this week.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a lot of hype around their new product, that is Fuliza.
Yeah.
And from an investor's standpoint, it seems Safaricom is really on the right trajectory.
Yeah. For Safaricom, it's a darling to investors. The ROE is quite attractive. The product base is very encouraging. It's one of the companies that's always out there trying to look for new products, trying to look for new things that can generate revenue for itself and also improve on the customer experience. Also, Safaricom is very attractive to foreign investors. It's the biggest listed company in Eastern Central Africa.
Yeah.
It's the most liquid company we have. So it's very easy to get in and get out. So it's among the companies that will always feature among the top movers.
All right.
Yeah.
Many thanks, Harry.
Thank you very much.
And what do you foresee in the next few weeks and days? And of course, something interesting happening is that Kenya's national treasury is very keen on fiscal consolidation.
Yeah.
Of course, this is outside the markets, but really from a debt standpoint, and also IMF has been on our case as a country.
Yeah.
Where is this conversation headed?
For the next few weeks, in terms of the market, we expect it to be even more exciting than it is right now. Companies are expected to release their full year results, so that's going to have an impact on the market, hopefully a positive one. In terms of debt, it's quite interesting to see that the government is now opting for fiscal consolidation, but it's a word that has been thrown around by the government in the recent past. So it's a wait and see to see whether this time the government is actually serious about controlling the level of expenditure that we have. The key level of expenditure we need to be controlling is recurrent expenditure. Awesome. Capital expenditure is actually very positive for our economy, and if the Treasury is opting to cut capital expenditure, that might have a negative impact on its contribution to GDP growth.
Even on the big four.
Yeah, even on the big four.
Thank you so much, Harrison.
Most welcome.
Well, time for us to now take a quick look at Markets 101 for this week. Well, it's now time for my favorite segment, and that is Question on the Street. Let me take a quick look on our social media today, what some of you are asking. Well, I'm seeing a question here from a very interesting name of contributor. It's called Mta Investors. He's saying, before getting into the dance, what does equity turnover really mean? Usieke kizungu mingi, please. Ongea come to Nairobi. I need to understand these things. Asante. Harry, over to you.
It's a very interesting question from Mta Investor. In simple terms, equity turnover is basically the value of what has been traded during a single trading session. Mm-hmm. It's basically the price point at which a certain amount of volume was bought for a particular stock, and then just sums up all the trades that were done during the day. That gives us the equity turnover.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm sure some will confuse it for shares traded, total shares traded.
Yeah. Shares traded now is volume, the actual volume of the shares.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for the clarification, Harry.
You're most welcome.
Well, just before we wrap up, it's time for us to take you to our other segment, and that is on our historical fact for this week. Well, that's it from us for today. Many thanks for your valid company. And as we break for the weekend, remember you can always engage with us on our social media handles. You can follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, and of course you can also tweet me on my Twitter handle at KTN Kenya, or you can tweet me at Agina Abi. Not forgetting the Trading Bell Facebook page as well as on Twitter. Well, Harry, it's been Valentine's. We are both in red.
It's a good day.
It's a good day.
Yeah, it's a good day.
Perfect place to end it.
A nice place to end it.
All right. Yeah. Thankfully, you are not at the men's conference. Well, see you next time. My name is Agina. Do have a lovely weekend ahead.